I've been using Luminar Neo for a couple of years now, and I'd say in the past 6 to 9 months, it's received some of its biggest software updates yet. So I wanted to revisit it, test them out, and share with you if I still think it's worth it in its current iteration. Now, I've been testing it on my MacBook Air M5, and it's been running great. There's some great new features, including an AI assistant, which I'll jump into later. It's available on macOS, it's available on Windows, iOS, Android, and Chrome OS as well. And actually in recent updates, it introduced cross-platform editing, which is essentially you can start editing on your desktop, switch over to your tablet or cell phone and continue the edit from where you left off, which has been a game changer for many photo editors. So let's start by looking at some of the core features that are available. So if you're coming from, say, Lightroom or Photomator, then you'll see a lot of the tools that you've already been using. Standard tools such as the ability to move sliders to change your contrast, your exposure, your highlights, your darks. There's a curve tool there as well, so you can start getting into the midtones and really push the boundaries of how you want to light your frame. And there's a HSL tool, so you can do some color grading, so you can change your hues, your luminance, your saturation. One thing it's missing in terms of color grading, which if you're coming, like I say, from Lightroom or Capture One or pretty much any other photo editing software, is the ability to color grade specifically your highlights, your shadows, and your midtones. You'll see them as 3 circles, usually in a triangle form. That's not there on Luminar Neo, and I'm not sure why, but you can still do some color grading, as I say, through the HSL sliders. Now, a recent tool they introduced is the light depth tool, and this is actually a really cool tool that I enjoy using. And to explain it, say you've got an image that's evenly exposed, your subject's in the center of the image. And what you want to do is really add more attention onto your subject. Well, with the light depth tool, you can rearrange where the light drops. You can crop it in, so you could narrow it so the light is just going exactly on your subject, and then the surrounding areas are now more underexposed, and it just makes your subject pop more. You don't just have to do it with people, you can do it on landscapes, you can do it on product photography, whatever. And it's a really cool tool to move around and manipulate the light in that sense, and it's easy to use as well. There's a new bokeh tool, so if, say, you've shot an image at f8, so there's not much separation between your subject and the background, with a new bokeh tool, you can just move a slider and it will make your background or your foreground, depending on what you want to do, more blurred and more soft, giving you that separation. It looks okay, you know, it's kind of on a par with Lightroom if you've experimented with Lightroom's version of this, but as I say, nothing ever replaces the bokeh that you'll find in your lens. So, you know, I would use this sparingly and in emergency situations only, whatever that may be. But it's there if you need it, and it works pretty well in line with what other software are offering at the moment. Your masking tools are there as well, so you've got linear and gradient masking. If you want to, say you're a landscape photographer and you want to lift up the foreground or lower the highlights on the background, you can do that with relative ease using Luminar Neo. There's a brush tool as well, so you can make more local adjustments to specific parts of your frame and make your edits that way. And all of them work as advertised and how you would expect them to work. A feature I really like, and it's similar to Capture One's match look feature, but Luminar Neo calls it color transfer. And essentially what this is, say you've got your raw file loaded up in Luminar and you want to do some color grading that you either done on a previous edit or from an image that's not necessarily yours, but you like the color grading that's been done on that specific frame. You can load it up into Luminar Neo and it will match the color grading on the image that you're editing. And yeah, it gets it pretty right, pretty accurate. You might need to make some slight adjustments, but for the most part, I've thought this has been a great way of kind of getting an edit out into the races, and then you can make your manual adjustments as you need. So jumping into the AI features, and this is where Luminar Neo really positions itself as an AI photo editor. And it does this by offering different features that are powered by AI that you can use to edit your image, essentially. So the popular one is sky replacement. So if you've been out and done a landscape shot, and the foreground and the center of the frame are where you want it to be, but the sky is not. Say it's flat, it's gray, or there's not many clouds, there's not much character in the sky. You've got a range of clouds that you can that you can choose from and replace it, from sunny skies to sunsets to stormy skies, right through to kind of skies that you'd see if someone was photographing the Milky Way. And for me, some of them go outside of the realms of what I would use, because I try and keep my image as realistic as possible. But, you know, adding some clouds to the image, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. And in fact, using any of this clouds that you can replace with is not a bad thing. It just depends how far you want to push your creativity and what kind of photo editor you are. So the tool that I mentioned at the start of the video is the new AI assistant. Now, if you've used AI in any capacity, you know that what you do is you give it a prompt and it does what you tell it, or at least that should be the case. And it's similar here with Luminar Neo. You tell the AI assistant how you want to edit it. So say you want to make some color grading adjustments, you want to change the white balance, maybe do some minor changes to your exposure. You put in a simple prompt and then Luminar Neo says it will do the work for you. Now, in my experience, if you give it anything too complex, it can't do it. It won't be able to compute, and it just kind of shuts down and you need to try again. If you keep your prompt very basic, and I mean very, very basic in terms of like the color grading that you want in the frame, then it does a good job. It presents you with 3 options that you can choose from. And again, in my testing, if I've selected one of the options, it's not necessarily been the edit at the end of the edit. I've still needed to make some manual tweaks, but that's fine. But as a means to get going with the edit, I think it does a decent job. And if you're someone who's new to photo editing and you're not quite sure how tools work right now, it's a good way to kind of learn as you think about what you're asking the AI assistant to do. But I don't see more advanced photo editors using this tool on a continuous basis, especially if they're doing large batch edits of, say, shoots that they've done for work or something like that. There's object removal, which is very simple. Again, if you've used other software such as Photomator or Lightroom, then you'll know how this works. If there's an object in your frame that you're not keen on, you just brush over it and it will remove it. Now, Luminar Neo does a pretty good job in keeping things looking realistic. It's not quite on a par with Lightroom. I still think Lightroom's the best on the market, but when I've compared it to, say, Photomator, I think they're both on a par, and you may need to give it a couple of goes to get the image where you want it to be once it's removed the object. And I would say it's best used for small objects. Say if there's a leaf you don't like in the foreground, or a can of soda somewhere in the frame that's distracting, then it'll do just fine. But if you're looking to remove large trees or really kind of tricky objects, then it's not there yet, but it has got better and better throughout the years that I've been testing it. And a very simple tool is AI-powered enhancement, and this is just auto-enhance, really. So there's a slider that you can use, and the more that you move it, the more adjustments it will make, and it uses AI to judge where the image could benefit from some edits. So say if your shadows are too low, it'll lift those up. If your highlights are blown out, it'll take those down. Maybe add a little bit of saturation, but it's all very subtle when using this. One cool feature, which is maybe more applicable to a broader audience, it's not something I necessarily use myself, but is colorization tools. So you can take, I took some photos of some old family images from when my grandparents were younger. So naturally they were black and white, and I was able to load it up into Luminar Neo and it colorized them. This is great for people who've got old photos and they want to colorize them. And yeah, it worked pretty well. In the beginning, it kind of changed the eyes a little bit, but sometimes it would just do the colorization as I wanted. So it's a little bit hit and miss, I would say. But if you're someone who's looking to restore old images, then I would say give it a go and see what results you get from it. So if we look at design and usability, this is where I really wax lyrical about Luminar Neo, because I absolutely love the design. It's modern, it's well laid out, it's not overpowering. I love that it's got kind of a liquid glass feel, especially on Mac OS. So the backgrounds, there's a little bit of transparency there, but not too much where you can get distracted from the image that you're editing. It's color coded with vibrant colors, and that's not just about being easy on the eye. It also helps you find the tools and features that you want to use, because as your brain learns what the color categories represent, you're able to get to the tools that you want much quicker. And if you're completely a beginner in photo editing and you're not exactly sure what each tool does, there's a little eye next to each of the features, and if you hover your cursor over it, it'll explain exactly what it is and how you can use it. And I really like that. You don't see that all the time in photo editing software, and I think it's just a good way to help photographers get on their path and learn what each thing does and how they can really get the most out of the edit that they're doing. It's got a good file management system. You can star your images, or you can tap a love heart to favorite them, and then you can jump into your favorites or your highest starred images quicker, and that's just good for when you're culling your frames and you just want to get rid of all the ones that you're not interested in and then just jump into the ones that you want to keep and start editing. Performance-wise, I've tested this on both the M5, as I say, but previously I had the M1 MacBook Air, which has 8 GB of RAM. The one I'm currently using has 16 GB of RAM. And even on the older laptop, it ran very smoothly. I very rarely saw any lag since I've upgraded to the MacBook Air M5, which, by the way, I've got my review there if you're interested in seeing that. It runs rapid, like absolutely rapid. I can zoom in on a subject, zoom out, switch between my images, make the adjustments, and everything's just doing it in real time. And even with the AI powered tools, while you expect there to be a little bit of waiting time while the AI works its magic, it's not where you start to lose interest or you feel like you're losing your flow. Everything works really quickly. So yeah, it's really done an excellent job here in terms of performance and design. And it's one of the reasons why I recommend Luminar Neo so often to people who are looking for a photo editing software. The mobile app, I should make a note on the mobile app. I'm not going to go in depth on it. I'm going to do a separate review for it. I've actually got a walkthrough actually of an image I edited with the mobile app. I will link that up there. But it looks a little bit different to the desktop app. They've gone for a slightly different design language. Rather than sliders, it's dials, and it's got this like haptic feedback, which I really like. So you can feel the dials clicking as you're changing them, and there's little noises that it makes. It makes it feel more interactive and intuitive. It's got presets as well that's emulating kind of like film like presets, which is cool, so they look a little bit different. And yeah, it's good, it works well, but I just want to make it clear that the design language is slightly different, so you may need to get used to it, you know, after a few sessions in order to be on a par with using it on desktop. Speaking of presets, Luminar Neo does have its own presets as well on desktop, which are slightly different to the mobile ones, but it caters to a lot of different genres. So you've got portraits, you've got landscapes, cityscapes, product photography. And look, you don't have to stay confined to each genre. You could use a portrait preset for a landscape photo. But they're good. There's a good variety. I see differences when I use them. It's not kind of menial differences where you think there's just too many here. It's got a good amount. It's not as in-depth as Lightroom's preset catalog, but it's on a par with Photomator, which I would say is a similar product. So let's look at pricing. Now, Luminar Neo doesn't offer a subscription model. It offers perpetual licenses. If you don't know what that means, it means you pay once and it's yours to own forever. And you've got three options. You've got the desktop only license, which costs $119. So that's just the desktop app. You've got the cross-platform license, which gets you desktop and mobile. That costs $159. And then you've got the max license. So you get mobile, desktop, and access to Luminar Neo's creative library, which gives you more LUTs, more presets, more educational tools, and that costs $179. I would say the sweet spot, if you're cross-platforming, get that one at $159, but all of them are great. I think it's great value for money, and there's a money-back guarantee as well if you find that it's not for you. I'll leave a link down in the description if you're looking to sign up. But yeah, if you compare it to Photomator, which costs $119 for a perpetual license, or Capture One, which costs $349, Luminar Neo is offering good value for money. So who is Luminar Neo for? Well, I've compared it to Lightroom because Luminar Neo can satisfy different levels of photographer, from beginner right through to professional. But really, I wouldn't say Luminar Neo is a professional photo editor. So if you're already using Capture One, I wouldn't recommend coming to Luminar Neo. And if you're using Lightroom in a professional capacity, I'd say the same thing as well. Luminar Neo is suited to passionate photographers who are more hobbyists. Say they're out every week and you're making images, you're sharing them online. Maybe you've got a good social profile, you're a content creator. You're even a beginner photographer who wants a very simple tool that is easy to get to grips with, but has all the functionality to give you everything you would need to make powerful edits. Then Luminar Neo is absolutely for you, and I would give it a go. If you're using Luminar Neo, please let me know what you think down in the comments, or if you're new to using it, let me know what your early experience has been like, and let's get a conversation going. And of course, if you like this video, guys, please hit a like, do subscribe, and tap that bell icon so YouTube notifies you when I next publish. Until the next one, I'm Dan, this is Zen Frames, see ya.